Let's dive in. We don't have that much actually to cover before we jump into speakers. So, usual code of conduct, please be chatty and engaged in the chat as always. We are going to take a summer break. Folks, obviously, we'll be taking a lot of time off in July and August. So, we decided we would take a break and then we can come back with pizzazz in September. So, nothing for you all to do on your end. We will basically update the calendar invitation so that it has a break for July and August, and we'll be back in September. And I already had a message from an awesome member of our community, Anna, who wants to present on the September call. So we're getting that stuff lined up already.
I'm here. I'm here. I'm here.
Oh, Anna,
hello,
hi,
Lydia. Yes,
fantastic.
hello. I wasn't
Hi.
sure. I didn't realize you're gonna already announce it, but yes, exciting.
No, yeah. It was only because I replied to your message this morning. I don't usually announce things 3 months in advance, but yeah, actually, it would be really great because Anna was talking about an implementation that she's currently doing, and I know we want to also do more learning about what are folks actually learning from implementation. So I think we can incorporate that into your content, and that should be great. Okay, so I think with that, let's dive straight into speakers and then we can talk a little bit about events afterwards. So we have two awesome speakers lined up today. I'll introduce Deepa's content and then you can talk about Vlad's in a little bit, Angeliki. So Deepa works for Microsoft, and I reached out to Deepa, who's in the customer engagement engineering org, and asked if we could take a look at some of the great agentic content that's coming. And Deepa offered to cover some of the out-of-the-box service agents that are available. So Deepa, I've made you a presenter, and you should just be able to take over control of presenting.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for having me. And please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah, we can. Maybe you could give a little intro to your role before you dive into the content.
Yeah, thanks, Lydia. So Deepa Bansal, I'm a PM. I'm actually based out of Atlanta, Georgia. And I've been focused on autonomous service agents. So really excited to speak to the community today. And before I delve into the autonomous service agents, I wanted to first take a step back and discuss the service journey we've been on. So first, we started creating a lot of technology for the customer service representatives depicted in the first column. And then in 2022, generative AI paved the way for us to create co-pilot capabilities to help customer service representatives do their jobs more effectively and efficiently. So Copilot is there to assist the human, the service representative. And we have to prompt Copilot to do something like summarize this case or give me an answer to this question. So in 2025 and beyond, we see service reps will continue to use Copilot, but we will see human service reps oversee teams of autonomous agents. And autonomous agents use AI to automate and execute business processes working alongside or on behalf of the human service representative. So, we're seeing this shift from three notable shifts from human-led and Copilot-assisted customer service to Copilot-led and human-reviewed customer service. Also, you'll see this idea moving from self-service being relatively static and stale to more evergreen and much more effective self-service. And these autonomous agents will learn from interactions that are happening and recognize new intent and resolution and be able to plow that information back into the self-service experience so the self-service experience can grow and evolve and get better. And finally, we want to make sure that all the toil and inefficiencies and all the things that human service representatives had to do is a thing of the past. So wanted to introduce our vision of the autonomous contact center. And can you still see my screen?
Yeah.
Perfect. So this diagram really encapsulates what we call the autonomous contact center. It starts with a customer reaching out from their channel of choice, whether it be chat, voice, SMS, email, and the different agents are represented by these different brain icons here. So the first, we're able to use the customer intent agent to determine what the customer is looking for, what they're trying to do, what they're trying to solve. And then as those intents are determined, those intents are presented to the customer on the self-service side to help the customer get their issue resolved on their own with the newly harvested intent. But if there's ever instances, go ahead. Is there a question? Okay. And I will look through the chat to see if there's any questions later. But if there's any instances where the customer's issue cannot be addressed through self-service, then we move that intent over to the assistive service. And that's where the case management agent is there to help assist the human service representative to solve the customer's problem. And so if the human service representative ends up solving a new issue, the knowledge management agent then autonomously harvests that information and drafts a knowledge article to be updated or added to the knowledge base. So the next time a customer comes in with a similar kind of question, the intent agent will know what it is and will be able to leverage knowledge articles to solve the customer's issues by the self-service experience. So it really never has to be escalated to a human service representative. So the business goal is really for Autonomous Contact Center and for all these agents is to optimize self-service. And so assisted service, a human service representative can really focus on the more complex cases that really need a human involved. And so what we want to do next is share a video. So I'm going to just quickly stop sharing and make sure I share with sound and play a video. And this video does a great job depicting how the agents work together. Please, a quick thumbs up if you can hear sound.
Autonomous agents can help reduce the manual burden on service reps, as well as enable evergreen customer self-service and assisted service. Let's see the case management, customer intent, and customer knowledge management agents in action. I'm a senior service rep, and I've just received an escalation for a new issue. Instead of having to manually create a case, I see the case management agent has already generated one. It identified relevant case details based on the customer's history and the transcript to auto-populate the appropriate fields. With Copilot, I'm also provided with a summary and other information to help quickly get me up to speed. And if I need a little more help, it will jumpstart collaboration with Microsoft Teams. Meanwhile, while I work, the customer intent agent is continuously learning from me and our other service reps how to identify and resolve this and other complex customer issues as they arise. It discovers new intents from customer conversations across all channels by analyzing case notes, transcripts, and summaries, mapping issues to corresponding resolutions that the agent maintains in a library. In parallel, the customer knowledge management agent ensures knowledge articles are kept perpetually current, automatically identifying opportunities to update existing articles or draft new ones based on the discovered insights. The agent autonomously drafts and publishes the content. And since I have oversight, all I have to do is approve the update. And whenever I need a little help diagnosing a customer issue, Copilot will proactively surface prompts fueled by the customer intent agent, as well as the latest guidance harnessed by the customer knowledge management agent. Though for this case, I'm ready to wrap up. Once I finish the chat with the customer, the case management agent will provide a summary and continue managing any follow-up needed for this and my other open cases. Here, the next day, alerting me to an email from the customer. It proactively drafts responses, which I have the option to review and edit before they're sent. Otherwise, the agent will continue monitoring and autonomously responding as needed, until I'm prompted it's time to close the case. Once I confirm, the agent automatically generates wrap-up notes, fills in the resolution details, and closes it for me. Now the next time a customer reaches out, our self-service tools like chatbots and IVR are ready, dynamically armed with the latest intents and knowledge content, which means fewer escalations for me. Autonomous.
So what you saw in the video was how all three autonomous service agents work together. And it's important to note that all three agents are in public preview, and they're targeted for GA around Q4 of this year. So customer intent agent, just to recap, this agent autonomously looks at previous successful conversations and cases where it learns from human service representative successful engagements that were done by human service representatives to identify why customers are reaching out. And that's what we're calling intent. Identifies the troubleshooting questions that a service rep asks to refine that intent, and uses that to autonomously create a dialogue with a bot or IVR to improve self-service. So then if the case does get escalated to a human service rep, also part of an intent agent, also part of intent agent is that the intent also gets gets routed to the appropriate human service representative. So customer intent agent is in preview, and it's available for both contact center and customer service. So it does discover new intent, not just from conversations, but also from cases. The next agent is case management agent. And this agent, as you saw in the video, is all about helping to reduce the human toil of doing repetitive work. So this agent automates creating, updating, resolving, and closing cases, and as well as driving any necessary customer follow-ups using the data from the case, as well as any previous customer interactions. And then finally, the customer knowledge management agent. This agent, as depicted in the video, it helps keeps your knowledge base up to date. We've heard this is a huge pain point for our customers, and really, the power of all these agents is the data in the system. So this knowledge management agent really helps identify knowledge articles that were not previously part of the existing knowledge corpus by looking at all your previous conversations and cases, and it's able to extract that knowledge and publish it in industry standard ways to help solve future cases. Thank you so much for your time today, and feel free to reach out if there's any questions.
Thank you. That was awesome. And that's a great video, isn't it? It really brings it to life, what the experience looks like, especially with different agents all working together. So thanks very much, Deepa. Angeliki, do you want to talk a little bit about what Vlad is going to be presenting now?
100%. So Vlad has brought in a very interesting topic. I know we have covered all things implementations and industry and new releases, but we are all here because we love CRM. And what Vlad is going to talk us through is how do you build and staff a practice or even a project team, and what kind of key skills are involved, and basically his whole fountain of knowledge. So Vlad, welcome. Thank you for joining us today, and take it along.
Thank you for having me. And I want to echo somebody, CRM rules, definitely. Yeah,
absolutely.
If you can promote me to presenter.
You should have access to present already.
Ready? Yeah, I don't have the share button.
Okay, let me try again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, sorry about that.
No worries. That's
Okay,
usually how it
now
rolls.
you
Okay,
should have.
now I
Now
can,
you should
yeah.
have presenter access.
Yep, just give me a second. Yeah, I think I have it. Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can, yeah.
Yeah, so we have quite a few slides to go through, so I'll try to be as fast as I can. But I want to ask, like, I have till the end of hour, right? Because I might need to have even next hour.
Yeah,
But
I imagine you could talk about this all day.
yeah, exactly. Yes, the first thing to tell you, instead of agenda, I decided to give you. We live in the age of YouTube. So, and I know this thing is going to be on YouTube too. So I want to give you highlights, the things which you probably see some kind of a pre-roll for the session itself. So what are you going to see today? You're going to see a salary snapshot. So 2025, and this actually was politely produced by somebody for me. I mean, one of the recruiters. So you'll see the numbers. Another thing, you will see some team formation stages and how actually a CRM team is forming, or should I say CE team is forming. But also important to say that pretty much whatever you're building today, maybe you're building AI practice, maybe you're building AI team, all the skills I'm going to share today and knowledge is very transferable. And another thing I'm going to touch, and you'll see some slides for retention and upskill, because that's one of the key things you usually do being like a team lead. So before I introduce myself, let me tell who is this session for. So I suppose there are three groups of people who care about this. First of all, it's actually end user practice leads, or they call them, I saw so many practice leads who call themselves CRM admins. What they actually do, they actually hire resources, they're responsible for entire CE stack, for Power Platform. Usually they're not responsible for Office 365 and 365 stuff, but this is, so I suppose you'll find something useful for in this slide deck. Another group is devs who are and consultants who are ready to be the team leads, and that's actually a very interesting career to be a team lead or practice lead. But you definitely need to be ready, and that's the key word here, to be ready. And last one is the developers and consultants who don't want to be a team lead, who actually don't want to lead a team. And this, I call them career smart. And what you'll probably learn by the end is how to get better alignment with your management or with your team lead, what they care about, what their main challenges, and maybe it will put you into better position for promotion, because that will help. So now I think it's time of talking about myself. I spent in CE space, in dynamic space, more than 20 years. In those days, it was called normal name CRM, actually version 1.0. I don't remember, was it 1.0, 1.2? I think I saw 1.0 for sure. And I used to be a developer. I've been a hybrid consultant, which means functional and technical consultant. I've been solution architect, and all these roles I passed to become a COO. My career before I joined Dynamics and CRM was I had a company which was building websites, and it was late 90s. In those days, you had to explain people why you need a website. So actually, I had this kind of experience calling people, explain why they need a website. So through all these years, we did more. I personally engaged, or I was leading a team which was running more than 300 plus projects. And this is how much CE users we manage daily. Why I give all these numbers is not only to brag, but I'll give you a couple of subjective opinions, and not all these opinions can be backed by data. So you need to know where I'm coming from and what kind of validation I have to say that. So there are a couple of typical scenarios why you might need to build a practice. So first of all, for example, you're migrating from Salesforce to Dynamics, and migration is done. This kind of handoff, and now partner left, and manager calls you and say, yeah, you know what? Now you own the thing. Now it's your job to do it. Another thing, it's more planned partner off ramp. It's frequently, every single project has a beginning and the end. Only bad projects have no end. So if project has finished, you might be again the person, maybe you're a developer, maybe a consultant, or maybe you're a random person which ended up in this role just in this point of time, and they decided to say, you know what, you're going to be responsible. And the last thing, which I see quite frequently, is cost-driven insourcing. where statement of work becomes so every single tweak requires a change requires a change management, becomes impossible to finance all of this. And some CFO can tell, you know what, let's bring the work inside. So these are typical scenarios. And actually what I want to share with you, if you're going to be a CE team or actually any team lead, you'll be surprised that majority of your time will be managing plans, managing people, and not a lot of technology. And what I'm going to cover, the thing which every developer consultant on this call will find easy to understand, and I'll move from easier thing to more complex, is how to plan. So let's say you're in an ideal position, you have all the documentation, partner is hand-holding you, you're in a good place, and you can do your kind of project onboarding. Then you don't need any of slides I'm going to show you in a second, but majority of time, usually partner left, didn't leave you any documentation, and actually they might left on the bad terms, and you might be in a position where you need to own a solution which was built by somebody else and you have no clue, and actually need to start building on top of it. So I'm going to give you a kind of a quick run what you need to do in a couple of few weeks or few months, what you need to do. And fundamentally what you need to practice on is learning the solution, stabilize and enhance and deliver new value. So the first one, how you can quickly discover content of a solution which you grandfathered from or inherited from somebody else. You can use tools like Solution Checker. I actually love XRM Toolbox because it has a lot of different tools just to get your foot in the water, just get quickly into the application and just understand what's going on, what kind of dependency it has. Another thing is super helpful to export data into Excel sometimes just to understand, or maybe go and look at customizations, just to understand data model. Sometimes understanding data model and data itself helps just to get your head around. Another thing super helpful is go and talk to people who actually use CRM. Maybe it's your first day at the job, or maybe you're doing some part of the CRM implementation. Now you need to own entire bit. So go and talk to power users, ask what they do, what kind of pain points they're trying to address. And another thing, if you will be lucky in having a partner, somebody else with experience of the project, try to record every single call. You'll be surprised how frequently you'll go back and watch them again and again. So the key thing, how you can kind of understand that you are there, if you in 15 minutes can flesh out entire end-to-end flow. If you feel you can flesh out entire solution, all the process, everything what people do in the system in 15 minutes, you're probably there. Second thing is stabilize and enhance. Usually what I saw, it's maybe my experience, but actually being on the customer side, you work with end users from end user perspective. Are so many times where system actually partner was fired because system was not delivering. And now somehow you need to understand it and also at the same time start fixing bugs. So one of the things I would definitely suggest is actually switch on all the logging, all the auditing, all the application insights. Obviously, if it's not hurting the performance. But if you can switch it on and see what's going on in the system, it will help you to understand and catch all bugs, not being like on the phone all the time. You'll be aware of issues before somebody calls you. That's a big win. Another thing, just focus on a couple of critical bugs. Just don't try to fix everything. Publish one pager. That's a lot of people miss on how to raise an issue, how to find you, what kind of questions you need to answer. You cannot say, hey, CRM is not working. Just ask them, send me a screenshot, give me some steps I can reproduce. And just having that single one pager will help you a lot just to stabilize and enhance. And just ship one or two quick wins. Don't try to boil the ocean here. And again, signal of success here, people sentiment in the company moves from broken to usable. So if people start telling you that, that's you're in a good place. And the last thing in these 3 stages is deliver new value. Just use stand-ups, do your agile approach, just because it makes, if you're not using agile, maybe you're coming from waterfall or some other models. I think everyone is using Scrum today, more or less. So just to be sure you're using that model, in this case, you can focus on priority issue, not trying to fire with every single fire in the company. Just have a joint backlog with your business users, not just your backlog or their backlog, just to have something to share with them. And be sure you're releasing and demoing stuff as frequently as possible. It's super important to send message, okay, I'm on top of it. I didn't fix everything, but I've managed to fix a lot. And all people want to see, and especially executives, you want to move them from fire, which you had to deal with, to some other fire I'm sure they have. So being sure that you demoing stuff will help you be in kind of on good terms with your executive team. And this is a quick recap of what I've just mentioned. The slide deck will be shared with the audience, so you'll be able to just take it from a single slide. And if it's your first day, or maybe it's your first week, just take and follow this list, and it will help you. Just maybe you will not address all the issues in the company, but you'll definitely not be the last person people will blame for system which probably not delivering well. So next thing I want to move to managing people, and just to give an overview where people usually come from, and for people who are being had a career at least for 5-10 years, they know what in dynamic space usually happens. You have either hiring people, you have some staff augmentation, you have partners joining you, giving you a fixed scope, you have some kind of managed service provider who gives you a ticket, and another thing which you might hear now more and more frequently, have some subscription management. It's kind of practice on demand. They call it pods, dedicated pods. So I gave you a kind of a quick run. What's the difference? The in-house, which is fundamentally what people usually consider, has one of big advantages. It's cheaper. Frequently, I hope it's maybe it's a better word, but it's definitely financially a better avenue than hiring a fixed scope partner. But usually what you have with in-house hires, you have a slow ramp. It takes 3 to 6 months for people to catch up and learn the system. And you have all kind of other options here. But I want to move to the next one, which model best for you, because you as a team lead, you'll be approached at some point. People would ask you, hey, who would you need to hire? What kind of resources do you need? And you need to know to know where to go. So, for example, in-house hires are definitely important if you own a product, which is if you work for a product business. I mean, like some ISV. So in this case, in-house hires, they will keep your IP retention because any other model will have risk of people walking away. You can have walking away your employees, but you kind of have better management there. Staff augmentation definitely better for short spikes, as you know. And fixed scope partners are for greenfield builds, building from scratch. The only thing which people usually don't consider is continuous improvement, where majority of work has been done and you need to keep moving. And if you cannot hire a person, you need to have some kind of model where it's not managed service, because managed service is ticket based. And maybe if you're in support phase, then it will work. But subscription model, continuous improvement definitely help you a little bit more there. I have a couple of ideas here where it doesn't work. For example, disadvantage of hiring is you have recurring pipeline, the retention risk, and more popular idea of fixed scope partners, rigidity of statement of work, change management is really expensive sometimes. So you need to be aware of that. So another thing, number one, where you definitely usually deal with as a team lead, you will think, okay, let's hire somebody. And what I need to tell you about hiring, there are 4 things which are going on the market. It's not that easy. They say during COVID, there was a spike of demand. It was virtually impossible to hire anyone. Today, it's possible. We had a round of redundancy, so you can hire. But actually, if you're top tier, if you're looking for top tier talent, that talent is not readily available. You might have like 3-6 months period where you need to wait for the talent join you. Another thing, in-house hiring, retention is super tough. Being end user, for example, I'm not talking about partners. Being a end user, you might see that people don't, for first couple of months, even years, your project might be exciting for a newbie, but in a year or two, it feels the same. And if consultant wants to grow, he might want to go to somebody else, or either your competitor, end user, or maybe to a partner. And I need to know, recruiters call every week. They actually, the moment I moved to kind of more senior roles, I started getting fewer calls. And that's actually good news, I guess, or not. But the recruiters actually, they usually harvest and they're going for end user community, people who are working for end user just to get as many talents as possible. So you might be they're kind of feeding ground, unfortunately. Another thing on onboarding and offboarding, that's another thing which your corporate background might pull you down. They might give some longer interviews, which technologists might not use to. They might do some additional background checks, and you might need a talent tomorrow, and that talent is not readily available. And knowledge lives when people do. That's you need to plan for that, and I'll give a couple of ideas. But before we go and give kind of ideas how you can build team in-house, I want to put a final nail for those who think, okay, I can afford, I can hire, we have a end user, we have a very big corporate entity, and we can afford anything. So I'll show you what it looks like. So today the salary, and that's actually, I vetted those numbers with a couple of recruiters, and I'll give the credit to people who helped me to put numbers. So those numbers are vetted. It's not just my personal experience. Actually, my personal experience is actually limited to those two regions. So we hire in different parts of the world. But fundamentally, average UK salary, you need to look at developers. This is the key role. You might need to have functional consultants. And usually what many end users or practices who are trying to build from scratch, they're looking for solution architects. Surprisingly, support and admin is less important for building a team. But those three roles, solution architect, functional consultant, developer, are important. And you can see usually lower end is the number which end user expected to pay, and upper end is corporate entities like partners. So not corporate, partners who are paying these numbers. And I know we have friends from over the pond, and you can see your numbers. When I was looking at these numbers, I could just give like 2x. I can just say, just use UK numbers, just multiply by 2 and put dollar in front of it. You'll probably get to the right number. And the interesting thing, which you need to see how the numbers were changing through the years. And that's actually courtesy of Imogen DeVille. She actually was very open to help me to put a slide with how the trends were looking. And they work for a long time. They understand the market. I have no affiliation with this company, just to say it, just to be fully transparent. It's just somebody who helped me to put numbers right from real market. And I think I should have gave some credit to them. So what you can see, the numbers were growing, and increasingly complex is solution architect. And you can see solution architect is growing through the roof. And another thing, development function consultant, because as I mentioned, when you build team, those kind of skills are important. So hearing all of this, you kind of probably, if you're starting this career, you think, what are my options now? Do I need to buy the team or I need to build the team? So if you can afford it and you can buy the team, and all the pitfalls of having team in-house, hiring a team from outside your company, is available to you, Godspeed. You can definitely do that, because if you can, many partners grow just hiring from outside of internal growth. But let's talk what your real options if you'll try to build a team. So these are main source of diverse skills you can have. If you moved from Salesforce to Dynamics, Salesforce admins can be quite quickly retrained to the Dynamics space. It doesn't take a long time. And with right training, and I'll give you a couple of ideas how to train, how to navigate that kind of training land more efficiently. You'll see it in a couple of slides. SharePoint folks, really helpful. They can be your Dynamics CE. They can be your Power Platform people too. They actually like to learn it. Another thing, many business analysts or SMEs, they might learn low-code, no-code approach to Power Platform and Dynamics CE. They may be a good source. Data engineers, support agents. I intentionally mentioned all of this, and the last is actually .NET Power Platform devs, because all of these people, if you're moving to CE, they would love to learn a new tool. That's a very important thing to know, that your team appreciates your effort to put them into a new box. Especially people, support agents, and people and SMEs, they would love to move into technology, maybe even better career or better compensation plan, whatever. Developers are the last people I would go to for a single reason. Talking about .NET, because Power Platform is instantly transferable skill. But .NET developers, I saw a couple of times when it's hit and miss. Some .NET developers don't want to switch into Dynamics. They think it's a very narrow focus for them. They want to stay as wide as possible. So you might hit that wall, but this is your sourcing, how you can source people from inside your team. And when you're sourcing your team, let's assume you have now a group of people who want to join. So how the team formation timeline looks like. Fundamentally, inside the house, you need to tell all your executives, you need to have 3 to 6 months just to hit the ground running, I guess. You'll have, usually I'm taking from the old model, probably everyone who studied some team management learned this model. There is a formation, storm, norm, and performance. And this is how it relates to dynamic space. During your forming phase, you'll have people who are just very polite, but very confused. And what you need to do here at this stage, you just need to clarify goals and explain their roles. You don't need to expect too much. Ironically, having just a wiki, just telling what we're going to do, what are project goals, creating a single channel in Teams might be sufficient for your forming stage. For your storming stage, this is actually where people fight, and you'll see so much in fights because people trying to understand. Some developers might not want to do the job you're asking them. Some business analysts not as technical as you expected. And you will have a lot of questions, a lot of friction, people asking, why is this messy? Why it's so bad? Why it's moving so slowly? And my advice would be, you need to ensure people have a feedback channel. Everyone, you cannot afford people complaining behind the doors. You want to open your doors and hear what's going on there. And what you can have here, you can have your whiteboards, you can have work item tags to surface things which are blocking delivery. And this is the most messy. And I'll be honest, not every single team passes through the storming phase. Next one is norming, where you have your team getting into the mood. You have the rhythm, some kind of rhythm emerges and people get self-organized. And what you need to do here is to delegate and celebrate. If you see somebody picked up managing tickets on your team, tickets coming from your team, and you even didn't ask, but somehow they're managing it, don't try to break it. Just create a function around that and just assign to that person and just celebrate. Hey, thank you for picking up for me. So this kind of norming phase is really important. And again, you're going to have daily stand-up. You can have your dashboards where you can share some results and tell, hey, look, you're delivering here. Keep doing good job. And the last thing, not every single team manages to reach that phase. By the way, I need to say that if you remove a single team member or you add a single team member, you're going back to storming, unfortunately. So if somebody leaving your team or you're moving into your team, somebody else, there will be, again, a friction about roles, a bit about structure. So you'll have, hopefully it will move faster this time because everyone else now understands what's going on here. But it's really important. And what I would definitely suggest is to have here burn down chart, health checks, just to be sure that you're performing well and company outside your team can see that. The last thing I want to expose to you, it's a pitfall. And the pitfall is usually skipping onboarding. People don't, on the forming stage, blame game is big thing in storming phase, and overload starts. I see, I think I have some more time, right? Because I'm, can I keep going?
I think knock yourself out. You can keep going. Yeah. Thank you.
Cool, yeah. So the next big thing which people don't usually expect, especially developers, they do not expect that, and me, I'm talking about myself, I didn't expect that in a year, around a year, let's say you passed all the stages of team formation and team is performing and you're happy. In a year of time, somebody will approach you and say, hey, what's my growth plan in this company? Or they will ask something else, how my raise might look like. I want to get a raise. And even if you say, okay, I'm a team lead, I'm not responsible for that, ironically, your executive team might come to you and ask the same question. Hey, who is on your team delivering? Who is on the team who needs to get a raise? And you don't want to be in place where, like I was saying, oh, you know what, let's keep do good work. Let's give another year. Let's see where it gets to. You want to give us a very concrete plan. All big corporate entities, they have actually some kind of competency matrix or some kind of growth plan. And if you cannot give it to your team, they will either leave you or they will think you're not doing a good job, which ironically for a technical person, it sounds like it's not their job at all. So imagine you have a competency matrix which applies to any roles, and it's fundamentally grounded in three things. People, are they learning? Can they do stuff or can they teach? And this is the competency matrix, which I'm going to share. The matrix we use in-house is slightly more sophisticated, I would say, at least. Bigger companies, they have even more sophisticated one. But the matrix I'm going to show you is sufficient for you to run probably for 5 years or maybe 2 to 3 years, and you'll have something very easy to use to start with. So it's fundamentally based on 3 axes: technical skills, ownership, and compliance. So anyone who's joining your team, probably in technical skill, and I'll start with technical skill because it's easy to understand. If somebody watched the demo on Power Pages, it doesn't put them in the box that they actually practitioner and they have experience. Watching a demo is not enough. which is probably with the same slide. If you watch this demo, you're probably not a practice lead yet, but you at least you're aware of it. So the level where you probably can tell people have some experience that if they tried some customization at least once, and they fix some basic errors independently. So whatever you have at this practitioner level who's tried some customization, you can put them into this box. But I'll talk about some other access in a second. Project ready. This is third level of, let's say, progress with competency. If that specific person delivered any customization, and the best thing, he can explain and compare different design options. So it's kind of solution architect level. So if that person can compare and analyze and give some suggestion to customer, that's definitely level 3. So that person project ready. And the last level is mentor. Person can train others. He is usually escalation road for some other people. So you might see for Power Pages, they go to John. And this is a level 4 for mentors. But I would love to say, hey, technical skills are sufficient, but unfortunately it's not. So another thing which you can see, ownership. So explore level 1 if person waits for senior guidance. Every single question that person comes to you and asks, hey, what I need to do, how I need to reply. This is definitely level 1. Level 2 owns all problems on their project. So it means, let's say a person again owns Power Pages. Every problem in Power Pages he's picking up and usually learn from him or her about the issue rather than from the end user or from your community of users. Third level solves issues across other projects. So that person helps other team members. So sometimes they can stay overnight and help, I don't know, building a plugin. And they also do mentoring juniors. And the last thing, mentor level, is when person can deal with any complexity. You can go for vacation for a month and that person can cover you. This is a fourth level of ownership. And the last level, which is usually corporate related compliance. So if you have plans constantly sleep, that's definitely level 1. If plans mostly met, level 2, you're getting there. If person is not just delivering on his or her deadlines, but help other team members, this is our still call level 3. And level 4, where that person creates new processes. Again, this person can be next your right or left arm, creating and designing process how other people need to execute. The thing is, it looks like more or less simple thing, but the challenge here, if somebody stays at specific level here, for example, you have a technical skill person who knows everything about Power Pages, but his level of ownership is number 1. Every single question he comes to, he's still level 1. And you need to be transparent to your team members, say, hey, you need to go and improve your ownership. Your technology skills are there, but ownership or compliance is not there. So if at least at one level, person is not past the bar, you need to keep. And why it's important, because you can connect your compensation, your promotion to the level they are at. And it creates a very clear path for your team members, what to do next, where to grow. If they have issues with compliance, so for example, their plans never there or just rarely met deadline, they will know, okay, I don't need to work on technology now, I need to work on my delivery. And this model will put you in ease for some time, and you can manage your team for probably 2 or 3 years for sure. So next slide, how you can build your skill in the house. And ironically, many companies, what they're trying to do, they blindly take a certification path from Microsoft and try to apply to your context. My suggestion here that it rarely works, because, for example, I take MB210, I think it's functional consultant for Dynamics CE exam. So what do you need to do? You need to identify areas of that certification path or exam which are not relevant for your project or for your company. For example, usual assumption, probably licensing. Not everyone needs to understand licensing as well. Or maybe integration with LinkedIn in your company is not used. So in this case, you can create your own curriculum, your own set of what people need to learn, and start pushing them, building that skill set in-house. I have a couple of things to talk about how you can grow team internally, what you need to do after you created this path. What we do in-house, for example, every week we have lunch and learn. Every single person, we have like a round robin system where everyone needs to come and share their experience. Another thing which I definitely suggest on Friday is to have like senior and junior developer working maybe isolated from each other, try to work on the same project, on the same piece of code. That actually helps really, really well to grow juniors. Another thing, certification sprints. That's a very good idea to have a group of people who are working towards the same exam and give them 2 or 3 hours a week just to try to work on the same issues, try to go through exam questions and try to help each other. You'll be surprised how it helps. And people move really well. When you need to certify a group of people, I cannot suggest enough to use this approach. And another thing which I saw from one Nordic partner, they're doing internal mini summits. So they take entire Friday off for entire company. Customers think they went on vacation. What they do, every single person runs a summit explaining technology they use, showcasing the projects. And sometimes you can do it twice a month if there is a new, like a new release or new rollout of some massive feature set. This way you can kind of keep your system well-oiled and your talent will start growing fast enough. The thing which I mentioned, that skill ladder, that matrix is really important. And you will be still at some point think about partners. So I'm going to show you what you need to think about working with partners, and I'm getting there. I think we're definitely at 75% of my slide deck. What you need to know if you're still thinking, if your executives will tell we need to hire somebody, you need to know that fixed cost is not continuous improvement. So if you don't know how the project might end up, fixed cost might not work. Another thing, be sure you don't deal with a ticket factory. Some partners do that. They offer you a lot of tickets, and if you run out of tickets, they will pretty much gone. And sometimes you need to consider dedicated FTEs, so a body assigned to your team. And this is one of few ideas you need to be aware of working with partners. And I think what I want to say, governance and so center of excellence, just don't be too fixated. We have, I'm sure, a lot of technologists who will not agree with me about that. But if you're starting your first week, first month, just don't be over concerned about those bits. You will catch up. You just need to be sure you have enough team management, plan management in place. Last thing, I think I left 2 slides. Managing attrition. You need to plan and be aware if you're a end user, people will leave you. It could happen in a year, it could happen in 2 years. I saw it's every kind of frequently happens with end users. So what you need to be sure, every 2 weeks you have that rule. If it's not documented, it didn't happen. You need to be sure your documentation and spec is put in place, because losing a developer hurts, but losing undocumented lodging hurts 10 times. And it will be on you, people blame on you. Another thing which is super helpful, to be sure that no one is responsible for separate feature for long enough. So if you have a developer, just be sure you have a QA who's shadowing. Even if developer wouldn't manage to have documentation, your QA person will be aware. If developer leaves, QA at least know how to test it. So just to be sure you have 2 people shadowing every single bit. And and every single win, just be sure you celebrate, because sometimes companies which maybe cannot compete with partners in compensation, but what they can definitely do, they can have a very good environment, very good kind of celebrative mood, and this is your competitive advantage. And the last thing to share with you, metrics that matter. I definitely recommend lead time and cycle time. You need to know how long a ticket was registered in your system, how long it from moment it was raised by end user to delivery, how long it took, and how long it took from moment when developers start working on it and reach delivery phase. Backlog burn down is super important for a manager. You need to see what kind of burn down, what number of items you planned for that sprint, and how many items have been actually delivered. I'll give a couple of others because you can read this slide later on. Feature adoption, there are some third-party tools which will tell you how many features are actually used, because your executives would love to see. For example, Copilot, you think, is it being used actually in the company? You know to know that. Documentation lags, super important to have. You can go into SharePoint, see when it was last modified. That's easy to check. And final thing, team net promoter score, just use your Microsoft form poll to ask your team members, but also inside the team, but also ask what people think outside of your team, how it feels and looks like. And this is your quick start checklist to wrap it up. You need to map existing solution, draft the target team matrix, focus on single quick win, ensure you have lunch and learns, and definitely ask for additional budget. Budget will never hurt you. And with that, I'll leave you. And if you have any questions, I know the slide deck will be shared. If you need to get some additional details, just feel free to reach out. And that's all from me.
That was incredible. Oh my gosh, that was an amazing presentation. And if you look in the chat, everyone's like, this is gold content. This is so helpful. This is a year in my life. Can I have the slides? Like,
I
very,
really
very,
appreciate it. So
very positive.
thank you. Thank you, Angie, for inviting, because you and I have been on money. Do we need to talk about that?
That was
True.
awesome. That was so interesting. And you've already got me messaging my manager about some of the things you were sharing that I think we could do internally in our team. That's in particular that slide about skill sharing. I love the structure of that. That was amazing. I've already sent the slides out to everybody, so it should be in your inbox now. Yeah, amazing. Amazing. Have you, I'm assuming you must have built an internal practice to have that much knowledge.
So yeah, so what I do, I have a company, so I have like 40 people, and we deliver. So I'm kind of selling practices, and one of the things I usually go and do it for customers. I'm building their practice and joining with our practice and doing that stuff. So this is all this stuff is coming from gray hair and a lot of long nights.
Yeah, I bet. But we've all benefited from the deep wealth of your knowledge. So thank you so much. And yeah, Dwayne said we'll get this shared out next Tuesday, the end-to-end presentation. So very light stuff to touch on after this. Just want to talk a little bit about events. As we know, events get a little bit more quiet over the summer. And if we just get to our slides, just wanted to call out a couple of things really. AI tours will be coming back from October onwards in varying cities. Those will get announced in the next couple of months. Power Platform Community Conference continues to be in October. I personally am very excited to be there. We have launched a Power Platform Instagram and Threads channels, and I went to Build 2 weeks ago and did some trial capturing social media stories of attendees attending the conference. And I'm very excited to do that at Power Platform Community Conference, because I think that's where lots of our most passionate presenters will be showing up. So if you're heading to Power Platform Conference, let's connect. And then really just wanted to call out a couple of events. So we all know EPPC is coming up. We all know TechCon, PowerCon, DataCon is coming up. And then Angelica and I are chatting, and there's a whole host of free collab days happening over the next few months all across Europe. They're all free. And Angelica was telling me in particular, the Milton Keynes one in the UK is in Bletchley Park, which is a super interesting venue. And you actually were saying, Angelica, you used to volunteer there, didn't you?
Yes, I used to volunteer for their STEM program, and it's fantastic the work they do with underprivileged minorities. But otherwise, it's also a great venue. Imagine presenting among Colossus, Enigma, and whatnot, all those machines. It's amazing.
Amazing. So if you are feeling inspired, go and check that out on Collab Days. And if you, as always, head to the QR code, you will be able to see all of those events that are coming up. And then we expect once we hit September, events will ramp up again after folks are rested after the summer. So I propose we leave it there. I hope you all have a wonderful summer, and that everybody, Vandana included, takes some annual leave or vacation over the next couple of months. We will be back in September with great presenters and looking for more feedback on how we can continue to enhance these calls. It's nearly been a year of Dynamics 365 community calls, which has been amazing. We've had so many incredible presentations over the last year, and it's really been wonderful for me to get to know the community. I feel like this call has really been where I've started to get so many familiar faces and have so many awesome conversations. So Miroslav, if you check in your email, you should have the presentation now. Have a wonderful break, everybody, and we will see you in September. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for having us. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You're so welcome. Thank you, both of you, for presenting.